Takes, you know what they taught me in kindergarten? It takes one to know one. Good morning, Friday, January 16th, 2026. A little committee humor this morning here in the House Committee on Transportation. Welcome to our guests from Local Motion. I'm not sure if Marcy or Richard's going to go first, but if you can identify yourself for the record and hand it off to you.
Great. Thanks, Chair Walker and committee members. I'm Richard Amore, Local Motion. Appreciate the opportunity to share our work and really appreciate the committee's support over the years. And Marcy and I are both new into our role in Local Motion. We started over the summer, but I've been not a stranger to this committee over the years. I used to work for the Agency of Commerce and ran the Better Connection program with VTrans. So every year we used to present on the Better Connection program in partnership with VTrans. So good to see you all.
You look familiar, but yeah. So I was trying to place you. Yeah.
Last year I wasn't in here because I was working for the feds and was not allowed in the building. But that was very short-lived given the current administration. So it's good to be back in the committee room and have this opportunity to share. I'm going to pass around a few one-pagers on our work. Do that one maybe this way. Is that as well? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for the record, Marcy Gallagher. I'm the Complete Street Specialist with Local Motion.
All right, let's get started. I'm going to go over a few slides and then transition it over to Marcy. Really just to share a little bit about our work over the past year and what we do. So Local Motion is a statewide bicycle and pedestrian and advocacy organization and nonprofit that really our mission is to make it safe, accessible, and fun for everyone in Vermont to walk, bike, and roll. And we really believe that streets and roads should be for all Vermonters to be able to move freely around their community in the mode of transportation choice that they want to, and being able to have that kind of opportunity and choice of how they move around their community. Our work is divided largely in two categories. I am the director of programs, so our program team supports the Complete Streets work, working with communities, providing technical assistance, supporting both planning, development, advocacy at the local level and state level. And then another part of our team's work is focused on education, working with schools and helping Safe Routes to School programming, as well as Walk and Bike Smart programs, which I'll share a little bit more about. And then another side of our shop really focuses on services, our world-class bike ferry that goes across the causeway, connecting Burlington and Colchester over to the islands, our bike rentals on the Island Line Trail, and then the valet bike parking and e-bike work that we do. Just want to highlight a couple of our programs and give a big shout out. I don't see any of our partners from VTrans in the room, but VTrans over the years have graciously supported us with the Bike Smart program, which is our basic skills learning and education program for kids. We get around the state offering 3 trailers, moving around all corners of the state, bringing bikes to schools, working with physical educators, and to get kids on bikes, learn how to bike safely. And we touch about 10,000 kids every year through this program and have 100,000 kids participating in the past 13 years.
Thank you, Chair. We've had discussions, I think, last year about, kids and learn how to bike. And when you go and do those events, is there a particular age group that you do? And do you find a lot of kids who've never biked, never ridden a bike?
There is, absolutely. And we have some in our fleet that are strider bikes. The pedals are removed so they can learn how to balance and ride. We provide a pretty robust curriculum. Oftentimes it's the PE teachers who are executing the curriculum. We bring the gear, we bring the curriculum, and then they run the programming with the students for 1 week to 2 weeks at a time. But yes, there is oftentimes kids that don't know how to ride at all.
And they might learn in the program how to ride a bike?
Absolutely, yeah. And depending on their skill level too, sometimes it's really hard when you only have 1 or 2 teachers with a group of 30 kids to be able to offer that one-on-one, because teaching a child how to ride safely is one thing. Teaching a child how to ride a bike who's never ridden one is a lot more labor intensive.
And I'm guessing it's not the way I learned, where you get to the top of the hill, and your dad pushes you down the hill.
No,
and-
we all learned it. With a couple bruises, right? And then just want to highlight one more thing before I transition it over to Marcy. Our Trailside Center, right on the bike path in Burlington, rents bikes to visitors and locals alike. This past year, we rented out 15,000 bikes. About 7,000 of those were from out-of-state visitors. And outdoor recreation is a big part of our local economy. As you see here, 5% of our GDP. And with those 7,000 visitors, we were coming from as far away as Australia, all across the world, as you see in the map behind me. You know, they are contributing a lot to the local economy. You can see on an average day, based on the Vermont Department of Tourism economic impact, $450 a day. You times that times 7,000, it's over $3 million, plus the other 8,000 who are coming locally. That's over $4 million in direct spending to support the local economy, both in, you know, the Burlington area, but I'd say more importantly in the islands. And now I'll pass it over to Marcy.
Again, Marcy Gallagher, Complete Streets Specialist, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our Complete Streets work. So on our Complete Streets team, we collaborate with communities across the state to provide technical assistance to help them plan for and build safer infrastructure for walking, biking, and rolling. And these are some of the tools in our toolbox that we use. Each community is completely different, so we may use just one of these tools or every single one. But we work with typically volunteer-led, sometimes municipally led groups to help them accomplish their infrastructure goals. And this is an example of the kind of work that we do. I don't know if it's possible. I know sometimes on Zoom you can get audio to play from a video.
I think you can share your audio.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that because it's a fun.
You might have to stop sharing and then share your screen. And I think because I think there's a spot that says share audio as well.
Their sound. All right, let's see if it works. Okay, seems like no, but this is a great video, so we'll send it out to the committee and Richard can tell you a little bit of background of what this was going to share.
Yeah. So a lot of my work when I was at ACCD was working with rural villages and downtowns across the state. I got the opportunity to work with Chester through the Better Connections program. In 2017, they applied and received a Better Connections planning grant, really engaged the community on creating a vision of how they could move around their community in a safe way. And I just want to share this story because it's pretty powerful that they use this planning study. Town manager Julie Hance down there is amazing. And really use this to inform future capital investments. Went after V-Trans bicycle and pedestrian grants, do a mile of sidewalks. They came to us last year and asked us to help them support a pop-up demonstration project that Marcy was trying to share in this video, but you can see some of those photos behind us. Really improved safety and parking in their commercial district right around the village green. There was a lot of conflicts in the past between vehicles and pedestrians and wasn't really a conducive environment for visitors to visit the village center. So we worked with them to do a pop-up demonstration project to show how there could be a better walking in front of the Main Street shops, as well as slow down traffic and define parking and crosswalks. And the cool thing about this was a trial 2-week test, paint, cones, flowers, boxes, really simple, low cost, but it tested the community's acceptance and willingness for this change. Then they applied and got a downtown transportation fund grant from ACCD, and now they're making those permanent infrastructure improvements this year. And that's what you want to see. You want to see the state investment supporting planning, thoughtful decision-making that's community-driven, and then coming to us to test that, and then going to the state to get funds to implement it. And that's what we're all around this table to try to make happen.
And we can actually just see some of the visuals here and we can read along even without audio, but this is the Chestertown Green. We've got some striping equipment, bollards. And again, this is all just temporary demonstration materials. For that's what,
Well, it's got closed captions, so it's not like.
I know, I know.
Go ahead and play it if you want to, you can read it.
Let's see, all right. This is the town manager. Those are those little rubber things that sit on the ground. I think they're named because maybe they look like armadillos.
Just for the fun.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Never sat for so long in silence. Testimony, that's great. Do that more often. Complete streets approach is actually already required by law in Vermont, and this is for all phases of all projects. And in all of these projects, the needs of all road users need to be considered. So what that means for us at Local Motion is that that's not just considering pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. It's also considering the kid on the bike and the grandmother in the wheelchair, and making sure that these design choices accommodate those road users as well. And this is just another kind of visual example of what a complete street may look like versus sometimes the status quo. And there's many reasons why we care so much about complete streets. And one of them is that slow speeds save lives. This infographic shows the dramatic and really exponential increase in pedestrian and cyclist fatality and injury, depending on how fast that car was going when they were hit. And particularly, as you can see, as we get above that 20 miles per hour, this is a problem in Vermont. We lost 11 Vermonters this past year who were walking and biking when they got hit by a car, and 165 others were injured. Complete streets also help foster independence in kids. You may or may not know, more kids than ever get driven to school as opposed to walking and biking. You can see the stats on the right-hand side here. And what that means when kids can't move around independently is that they're not developing some really crucial life skills as they grow up. So one of the ways our Complete Streets work addresses this is that we participate in Safe Routes to School task forces across the state. We are actually in the beginning stages of getting 2 new ones stood up right now in Winooski and Essex Junction. And these really just serve the purpose of making it safer and easier for kids to walk and bike to school. Complete streets are also great for local economies. They're great for tourism and just for creating places that people want to live, work, play, and recreate. So when we design complete streets, we do so for these reasons: for safety, for community connection, for independence for kids. But when we redesign streets, we actually find sometimes that they support dancing in the street, or shared potluck with your neighbors, or music. Maybe someone's playing out with their band in public for the first time on their front porch, and sharing in our Vermont heritage in connections that maybe we wouldn't have had otherwise. So we're going to talk just briefly about our legislative priorities, since this is just an introductory testimony, but we'd be happy to come back and talk more in depth about any at a different time. And I'll first say we are aligned with Transportation for Vermonters and their policy agenda, including supporting the implementation of Act 181. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Act 181, so I'll just say Local Motion's interest is really in that compact development makes roads safer for all users. Also, funding active transportation and transit. The more options people have besides getting in their cars makes it safer for folks walking, biking, and rolling. This includes funding these really important grant programs and also reallocating some TAP funding to safe routes to school, which, as I mentioned, really enriches the lives of kids and also starts to build a walking and biking culture in a community. We support a statewide right to charge law, not just for EV charging, but also for micromobility charging devices like e-bikes. And in addition to the Transportation for Vermonters priorities, we have 4 of our own no or low cost policies that we're supporting. The first is closing some safety gaps in Vermont's traffic statutes. So parking is already prohibited within 20 feet of crosswalks at intersections, but not mid-block crosswalks. And so what this means when you're crossing and there are cars parked right there is that visibility both for motorists and pedestrians is severely limited, and that's not safe. California just did this back in 2023. That law went into effect January 2025, and it's going great for them so far. The second one under that is designating center left turn lanes as a no passing zone. We think the fact that this is not already the case is just a relic of a previous time. We actually think Vermont is the only state in the country that does not do this. So this is really just modernizing the law. Secondly, studying e-bike and e-moto regulations. So I listened in on Wednesday. I know you've heard a lot about this. This really rapid growth of e-bikes and e-motos is outpacing our regulatory framework. Yeah.
I got interrupt. This left-hand turn lane piece as an example of Williston Road that goes down towards the airport. You're saying that that middle lane is available for passing by the law.
Local
not by-
jurisdictions can,
Well, it's on route, well, anyway, yeah.
Right, yes.
Or not, but
yes,
It's legal to go into the center turn lane to
And
pass
pass.
someone. There's conflicting statute, and one statute actually says it's up to limited to local law enforcement to enforce. But it's not a law like clear. And we're saying to tighten it up. 49 of the other states don't. do
my
it.
understanding is the long-term planning is for that road to go that way all the way back to the highway. And in both directions, continue to expand. I just find it interesting that that is not no passing. And there's a lot of places that have gone to 3 lanes, what used to be a 4-lane road that are coming down to 3 lanes. They're doing a lot, it includes in Rutland.
Stuck at.
They've done a lot of work in different places, but I didn't realize that it was okay to pass there.
but we're not encouraging it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay. Maybe it's not okay, but it's legal. I'm surprised. I learned that. Interesting. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I would say it's really dangerous.
Sure.
I was hit in a turn lane like that, so from behind. So, yeah.
I think most people assume it's illegal, but it's not clear in statute.
Interesting. Representative Valley?
Yeah, it does seem like a kind of common sense thing, because I think that's how most people, how it's legible to most people, that it's functional. You need to take a left-hand turn, or, what have you, yeah. But not for passing, because, when these roads are reduced to a 3-lane, that like a road diet, right? Often we're creating space for other uses, but not at the cost of creating congestion. And so the middle lane is for that purpose. So I think sends a mix, without lack of clarification, could send a mixed signal. Now that we've outed this publicly for everybody to know, I guess. So I think it's important to take a look at that.
So for e-bikes and e-motos, we're suggesting a task force to study regulations, study uses, and in particular, fire risk from batteries and make recommendations on that. I'm going to jump to number 4 because Richard's going to talk about number 3, Burlington's adoption of traffic enforcement cameras. So right now, our communities often just don't have the resources to police dangerous driving and speeding the way that we need to keep roads safe. So we do support this technology, given that there are strong safeguards for personal data and that these are really just being used for traffic enforcement. And I'll let Richard talk about the historic resource review.
Yeah, absolutely. So regional planning commissions, private sector consultants, and many folks in the active transportation bike space over the years have advocated to make and streamline our historic review process for sidewalk, trail, multi-use path projects. Oftentimes when they're going through planning and scoping, right now you have to do an archaeological and historical assessment. These assessments look at the historic properties as well as what's underneath the ground. Those reports are often longer than the actual transportation study and costly and slower. So it slows down the planning and development permitting of active transportation projects. We've had this as a priority in the past. It's been slow moving, but I want to share. I talked to my old colleague and friend, Laura Trishman Shippo at ACCD yesterday. She is meeting with VTrans and Federal Highway today. They are working toward putting these exemptions into play. So they've been an active partner with us to make that so. And I just wanted to thank Shippo and their leadership because what they're going to do is exempt historic properties for review in any active transportation projects. And I'm going to exempt archaeological review from retrofits and existing kind of improvements to sidewalks and transportation projects. New projects, new multi-use paths, new sidewalks will still go through archaeological review because their archaeological review requires anything under 6 inches of soil disturbance has to go through review, which we completely accept and understand, and we want to protect our historical and archaeological resources. This will really streamline the planning and development and implementation of active transportation projects. And it's great to see SHPO and Federal Highway and VTrans working together to make this a reality.
Is that going to require legislative change?
I don't think so. It's programmatic agreements between VTrans, Federal Highway, and the SHPO. So that's working through. And I just talked to Laura yesterday, so it was news to us, and we didn't, know that over the holidays when we're putting our priorities together, working with our board. So it seems like it's going to be a quick win for all of us.
Yeah, this is incredibly exciting. Can I just ask you to clarify what's going to be exempt and what's not? I'm not sure I caught everything.
Okay.
This is I've been trying to get this changed since I've been here. So.
We all have many years, right? Thanks, Rep. Lally. So for existing sidewalk projects that are being improved, retrofitted, dug up, rebuilt, where there's already a sidewalk or trail, those projects no longer will have to go through historic property or archaeological review. They're going to be on the exempt list.
So to expand or.
Not to expand because you're doing a new segment and you're tearing up new ground. But if you're tearing up an existing sidewalk and rebuilding it, you don't have to go through archaeological or historical review.
So just to be clear, we used to make people, up until now, we have made people go through archaeological and historic preservation review just to replace an existing segment of sidewalk.
There were federal and state funds, yes.
Wow. Well, this is a show right here, folks. This is why we can't have nice things in our communities, right?
It's a new chapter.
It's a new chapter. I'm glad that common sense is prevailing in this instance. We have a way to go, in my opinion. If we are trying to reduce emissions and have compact, walkable, convenient, affordable communities, this is a massive barrier that has to be addressed.
And it is.
Yeah. I
And
applaud the progress, but I see it as incremental progress.
Right.
Yeah.
And for new projects, they will still have to go through archaeological review because they're disturbing the ground, but they won't have to go through historic property review. So any historic properties will be exempt for new multi-use paths, new sidewalk extensions of that type.
Right. Okay.
Representative Ford?
Well, no, it's just that, the town of Polley put in 1.5 miles worth of sidewalk.
Longest sidewalk in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't did we have to go through some archaeological review on that?
You did when you went through the scoping and permitting of that
Okay.
project, because it used downtown.
Well, I know.
I'm very familiar with that project, working with Jonas.
Great project.
Um,
God
yeah,
rest his soul. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
incredible.
incredible guy.
Even now, I mean, I'll sit here and go, I gotta ask Jones that. I can't.
Yeah, it's one of the connecting
Huge
Pulteney
loss.
Village to Pulteney
Yes,
Main
it's
Street.
huge.
Yeah.
It's a great, I mean, Pulteney is probably one of the best walkable villages in the state. I mean, I would say that. It is a great place to walk.
Plus the rail trail.
And the rail trail's right there in the middle of town. It's great.
So we're making progress, which is great to see. And, talking to Laura yesterday, they want to be active partners with us, and they've been engaged in these conversations. So I think the stars are aligning now.
I would point out for the committee or not, though we may or may not be touching this on a bigger issue. We force that archaeological review and historic review on replacement of existing bridges right over the same exact spot. And that slows these projects down by a substantial amount. So sidewalks important. I'm not saying that it's not, but we do the exact same thing to ourselves on replacing existing roadways. I'm not, again, I would agree with what the witnesses have said, that I understand in a new area, but replacement is a tough thing to say, but we go through this, and it is something that we may, if depending on the requests and where things go, we may face this for the committee on a much bigger scale of replacement of current bridges and roads that we could save an unbelievable amount of time and effort for ourselves.
Money.
On replacements. Yeah. Replacements. We're not advocating anything beyond that. Anyway, we may touch on this on another scale, other areas, later this session.
I'd encourage,
I'm hoping that an Act 250 and an archaeological and an exemption for replacement of existing is something we can get done. Anyway.
absolutely. I just say, if you want to go dive deeper in the specifics, I encourage you to invite Laura to testify. She'd be happy to.
Well, that wraps up our policy priorities. We're gonna,
I have another question for you.
great.
Supporting Burlington's adoption of traffic enforcement cameras. What legislative need is there from that, related from that perspective? Why does it have to come here?
We were just discussing, we know that it does have to come here. We're not sure if it's a charter change.
Is
Is
it?
We have
Yeah.
to change, yeah.
And it's a question I was actually thinking about, like, do they have to make a charter change? There's other charter changes that are in the State House currently that Burlington's kind of waiting on, that the voters approved. Do they need to do this? It's unclear, and I don't know.
Just from hearing from Burlington folks who were advocating for this, I think there's some lack of clarity as to whether it's currently legal or not. And there was that law that we passed around workplace safety that had sort of a sunset, I think, in it, because it was an experimental, pilot. So there seems to be uncertainty whether it would be legal under that, or if there's other statute that covers it or not. So it might need to be explored, and perhaps judiciary would be the place to touch base first, but.
Yeah, I would suggest we get Damien to take a look at this, ask him that question specifically.
I know Chapin and the city's attorneys and stuff are working with somebody in this, the chambers on this as well. We've been touching base over the holidays, but haven't got further clarity.
Representative McCoy?
I mean, I just remember how difficult it was for this committee to even discuss having them in safety zones. Like, you can't get the person's face. What if it's not this person that's actually driving the car? It's just the license plate. So I think it's a heavy lift. I don't know why that wouldn't have to come through the legislature if every other road in the state was to. That's just my 2 cents. Sitting here listening up from the last couple of years in this committee.
I was just gonna say, I mean, the technology over the last 10 years has totally swapped, and the concerns of privacy and data, it's really not an issue anymore. People still believe that is an issue with this kind of technology. So.
Just to clarify, again, we'd be the ones driving this. We just want to clarify that should this come before your committee, we are in support of it.
And a couple last slides, just want to share our impact on what we did over 2025. The program team, which is a small but mighty team of 4 of us, work all across the state supporting communities advancing these goals and priorities. We've reviewed 23 and engaged in 23 transportation-related plans, scoping studies, better connections plans, and 23 communities across the state. We've supported 32 communities with active technical assistance going out to their community, doing walk and bike audits, going out and engaging them in local advocacy and planning and development of walking and biking infrastructure. We've hosted or attended 90 community and safety events across the state and given out nearly 1,500 helmets and lights and safety equipment to improve safety for cyclists and pedestrians across the state. And through Bike Smart, specifically working with educators, we've provided over 55,000 hours of safety training delivered across the state in 2025. And we are, yes, Representative Burke.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the help that you've given to the Brattleboro Coalition for Active Transportation. It's been really critical. Which is a group that was formed in Brattleboro after we had 4 pedestrian fatalities on state roads within the towns. And did a lot of things that I'm pretty sure that participation has been really critical.
Thank you. Yeah, Jack on our team's been actively involved, and Christina as well, our executive director. And what a great group down in BCAT. Yeah,
And we have the bike lending library too.
You got Dave Cohen down there too.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that.
We're missing there we go. There's the picture.
It wasn't.
Can we get it in? Okay, let's do it like this so you all can see this.
Yeah, just to wrap up, we're going to continue the great work we've been doing in partnership with VTrans and the Bike and Walk Smart work with schools. We also are in partnership with CCRPC to provide more direct technical assistance and culture building in Chittenden County through their help and assistance. But some new initiatives that we're partnering this year, working with the Rail Trail Program Manager, Jackie Casino at VTrans. We are leaning into doing more technical assistance, supporting the 18 towns along the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail to improve both the physical and economic connections between the main street, the village center, downtown to the trail, to bolster the connections there, as well as the wayfinding and signage and kind of culture building in those communities, working very closely with VTrans. And then a new initiative that we're really excited we're going to be launching in March, working with ARP Vermont and Preservation Trust of Vermont, is a Streets as Places micro grant program, giving out small micro grants to local community members and residents to host neighborhood gatherings in their streets, closing down streets or opening up streets for pedestrians and cyclists, and creating streets as places for social gathering and connection, and showing how streets can be reimagined. And a very short afternoon or evening as a party and a place of celebration, joy, and connection. Representative Buck.
Yeah, thanks for this and all the work you do. Last year we passed a bill, I'll say improving some bicycle rules in the state. And there was a piece on there for education and outreach for the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles and Public Safety in consultation with stakeholders. I think you guys were, listed there to develop education and outreach materials and bringing in law enforcement people, municipalities, members of the public to discuss the new bike rules and how they're going to work. And have you seen or had any work associated with this particular bill? And I'll add on there, we did pass a 4-foot rule, and just personally, I haven't seen one lick of education, whether it's on the websites or signage or anything like that. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, great question. And I have some questions myself, honestly, with some of that outreach and education being, happening, right? I think we'll hear a little bit more in the next testimony, and I hope to get some clarity. We have been working with VTrans, and some of that work has happened. We have created signs that we give out for the 4-foot passing law that are like temporary lawn signs we distribute out to the neighborhood groups and stuff. But there hasn't been as much, I would say personally, and as an organization, as much horsepower or bike power behind that education and outreach campaign. That we'd like to see more of that. And I'm hoping we'll get a little bit more clarity. The next testimony, we've brought this up to V-Trans. We meet with them in Active Transportation Partners Group quarterly, and it lasts back in December. That was a thing we and our partners like ARP Vermont and others across the state kind of raised. And I think some of it's been done, but it hasn't been done to the level that I think needs to be done. Because many communities don't even know these laws have changed.
Right, and just to sort of add on to that, I mean, we can make all the changes we want, but you know, there's a realization that really it's getting people to be educated and understand and buy in on sharing the road, however you might share the road, and it goes both ways. I mean, you know, bicyclists and pedestrians have to, you know, obey the laws too and follow the process. And then, you know, those driving and whatnot need to do the same. So, and I think it all really, we can write whatever we want. It all really comes down to that education piece. And I would point to that as the most important piece of that there.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done that through our active walk by groups like VCAT, Brattleboro and stuff, but those are, you know, 30 or 40 of those around the state. And there really needs to be broader exposures so the general public understands.
All right, thank you very much for your testimony, very much appreciated, and I think we're going to take a quick break.